Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation. What is sensorality? What is a sensor? How is censorship defined? So, sensorality is from rhythm to algorithm. Sensorality is to algorithm what rhythm is to logarithm. A logarithm is an exponent. And so we covered last time our big result. An exponent is a statement of identity. I wanted to continue on with that. Our big kind of this whole episode is the relationship of identity and property. And so again, the form of an exponent is what are you doing to itself, right? If we have 1 to the 4th power, just 1. If you have 4th to the 5th power, you're saying 4 times 5. But it's a statement of identity. And then you can see throughout the episode, I have a couple of different things on the screen, an identity or just identity. But it is what it is. 1 is universal. There was a unique chronological evolution to the universe. There was a time of 1, there was a time of 2, now there's a time of many. And that's what people say is we live in 3 dimensions. But, all right, there was a beginning, there is no end. And then all of our conceptualization, all of our linguistics, all of our logical structure is bounded. And so we'll get to a couple more statements I think we can say about that, but really just, again, we're going to get to another poignant continuation of the fundamental theorem of mathematics. Again, exponentiation is identification, a statement of identity. And I wanted to be more specific, like even when I was watching the episode or editing it, it was just, there's only one identity, right? There was only one statement of it is what it is, and it's quintessential. It's these 5 fundamental syllables to, relate things that are independent. I am me, the camera's the camera, everybody else is everybody else, the table's over there, right? Nothing is touching, but everything is connected. And so we have this universal progression of one thing, right? The universe did exponentiate. Conceptually, again, it's been completely resolved in speciality, but it seems to make a lot of sense to me, right? Kind of the big question in cosmology or the statements recently, in the past 15, 20 years, the universe is expanding at an accelerating rate. Nope, that's like a sociological phenomenon of go, 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 we're gonna be the best. It's really just, again, sociological human beings being invincible, this kind of a young, overall sentimental maturity of everybody. Reality, things cool down, things contract. That's what the universe is doing. We have this dichotomy in interpretation. Things that are contracting are also getting further away, in the same way things that are expanding are also getting further away. But the overall current state of the universe is like a lava lamp, where everything is this big blob, it kind of tends to a sphere, and we're kind of just bumping along. And then people want to ask the question, what's the boundary of the universe? What is the edge of the universe? And you're immediately at a geometric identity. We don't have physical conceptualization. We have no formalization in linguistics to say what is the edge of the universe. But we have this containment, physical evolution. Hey, we understood that there was a beginning, but it wasn't created. We're not getting into any of that type of ontology. It's just this fundamental, frankly, asymmetry, right? The universe can't physically balance out in a way, so it just stabilizes internal properties, is verbiage I have used. But now we're going to make a really fundamental differentiation between identity and property and how we represent that mathematically. And so, again, there is a unique evolution, physical chronology. All of our logic and linguistic structure is bounded in what we say is 3 dimensions. And so that is where we're starting, and just moving through our steps. Again, my rights continue to be violated. But we're really going to get to another really poignant and direct statement about exponentiation. What is an exponent? That is undeniable. It's always really simple. Overall, what is the difference between identity and property? And so specifically to last episode a little more, right, again, there's not like multiple identities. And that's a word that gets used logically, because most of this differentiation is logical and mathematical. There's not that much physics to it. But people will say, we have a lot of identities in mathematics, and then they'll put up equations. We're going to kind of derive exactly why that's wrong. But there's only one identity, and there's multiple properties. In the same way, charge is conserved and mass is preserved. But logically, right, it doesn't really have any impact, but that's for physics because it's renormalized. But then what is an operator? What is a function? What is exponentiation? What is identity to property? Logically, it does have some poignancy to make a meaningful differentiation. So that is where we start, and we just move through our steps as usual. What is differentiation to exponentiation? We're doing a derivation. What is sensorality? But did the universe in this what people call in cosmology inflation, did that happen? Yes. And so there was exponentiation, right? There was mass, so, quote unquote, created, and there's, again, not created but stabilized. And then you have, again, human historical linguistic progression of just, you guys don't get slang as the entirety of language, and so it's really storytelling. And then just certain aspects of the story get stabilized. That's why you use certain words as opposed to other words, because the actual assignment is pretty haphazard. It doesn't have to be this word, it doesn't have to be that word. It's just the overall progression and refinement of science is why we use certain words as opposed to others. But like creation doesn't make sense. Stabilization is what happened, and you can't completely stabilize because of the geometry. And so, but then all of that is still, again, just containment information present in R3, right? It's deduced. It's never a direct measurement of R1 universally. There's never a direct measurement or any information from R2 universally. What is differentiation to exponentiation? Point being, the purpose of this dichotomy, right? Exponentiation, naturally we conceptualize that to growth, right? Exponential growth. Differentiation, is that more or less, or again, are we still just, we're bounded in this conservation of charge, preservation of mass. There's no more or less. We just have this remnant of logic, right? It just is what it is. Nothing can change that much. You can't create or destroy mass. And then what impact does that have in mathematics, in this overall structure of functionality and operation? Sensorality is an appendix. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is an appendix to a catalog? Sensorality is catalogability. Natural definition, direct iteration, again, logarithm, catalog. We've explicitly articulated that dichotomy several times. Just moving along. Sensorality is logability. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is a log to a sensor? Do logs lag? Direct iteration. Do domains contain a base? Is domain pertinent? Relevance is pertinality. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is tension to tenant? Is a tenant a resident? Sensorality is the side of a site. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is on site. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is requisite. What is requisite to exquisite? Is sensitivity a requisite? What is sensitivity to productivity? Pending is tentative. Sensorality is tentativity. Natural definition, direct iteration. Is identity tentative? Right, and that direct logic is the presence of ser and estar and español, right? Being permanently or being temporary, right? Identity, is that permanent or is that temporary? Is identity tentative? What is feeling to mood? What is feeling to movement? Is feeling fragile? What is peeling to feeling? Sensorality peels. Direct iteration. What is pulling to peeling? What is peeling to appealing? Sensorality is an appealing peel. Natural definition, direct iteration. Is appeal distasteful? Sensorality is a taste of one's own medicine. Natural definition, direct iteration. What are binoculars? Sensorality is nocularity. Natural definition, direct iteration. So we'll kind of jump ahead a little bit, but right when I just said, what are binoculars? Typically, like the base level logic that I present is, what is feeling to mood? What is feeling to movement? steps we just articulated. What is this to that? Those are already properties, right? Specifically not using the word identity. But when I just say what is binoculars, I'm just introducing the syllability. You know what binoculars are, what is nocularity. But typically the baseline introduction is some sort of property, some sort of relationship, this word to this word, this concept to that concept. But sensorality is nocularity, just saying, hey, directly pulled syllability from binoculars. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is circularity to nocularity? Are binoculars nocturnal? Direct iteration. Sensorality is nocturnality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is spectrality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Are spectrums spectral? Direct iteration. Special, spectral. Algorality is oral lag. Natural definition, direct iteration. That's complete minus an ITY. And so, again, typically when we've said complete properties, we've had like the exact letters is kind of like what we've been emphasizing or saying this is completeness. But here, again, algorality contains all of the letters for oral lag, and then the ITY, we can just kind of remove that because it's a suffix with no fundamental meaning, right? It's just linguistic representation of a word form. Sensorality is oral lag. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is asynchronicity. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is chirality to synchronicity? What is synchronicity to symmetry? Is symmetry chronic? Is symmetry symbolic? Is rhythm symmetric? No. Again, that's why you don't have any even prime numbers, right? There is no, and then physics, the big motivation, well, we have a symmetry here. You don't. Mathematics, we have a bijection and an isomorphism. You don't. Oh, why is our math all broken? It's just like it is what it is. Everything is independent. When you say is, when you write an equation, that's not the same thing. Symmetry doesn't exist. Rhythms are regular. What is regularity to predictability? What is socializing to associating? Right? Words have meaning. Meaning is associated to sound. What is socializing to standardizing? What is socialization to restriction? Again, conceptually emphasizing socializing is what normalizes the frequency of use of words, the meaning of words, because everything is generally relative. Sensorality is mean meaning. Natural definition, direct iteration. I know we've hit this a bunch, just the dichotomy of meaning, average, and then mean, a negatively connotated action as a kid. You're a mean person. Are you an average person? Are you basic? Logic we've articulated several times. Demeaning is mean. Direct iteration. Sensorality is an average exponent. Natural definition, direct iteration. Is average demeaning. Sensorality is the verge of a verse. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality appreciates the essence of verse. Direct iteration. Sensorality approaches verge. Direct iteration. Approach, coach. What is coaching to directing? What is directing to collecting? Sensorality controls collection. Sensorality controls connection. Direct iteration. Everything is connected, but nothing is touching. I just wanted to say about the directing. The cinema, movie theaters going bonkers. I think I'm going to go see Spider-Man. But the Odyssey and Spider-Man's got some hype in the movies. Haven't seen that in quite some time. So that's kind of fun. But I just thought of that when I had directing. Is exponentiation potent? What is exponentiation to expectation? What is exponentiation to expiration? Do censors expire? Do requirements expire? What is produce to expiration? Produce expires pretty quick. What does influence produce? Exponential is influential. Sensorality produces fluency. Orality produces fluency. Is fluency productive? Is fluency a product? I want to get fluent in a language. Just go speak it. Go do it. Go oralize it. Sensorality is a product of its environment. Natural definition, direct iteration. Again, at this point, emphasizing our labeling. This is just an analytical process you've never seen, and that seems appropriate for me to emphasize. But we're getting to, again, it is what it is. What is an exponent? What is exponentiation? What is identity? And exponentiation is identification. Right? These natural definitions we're saying is, and we'll get to this logic here in a second, but it's connecting two ideas that are not exactly the same, because nothing is exactly the same, right? Everything is infinitely unique. That's our fundamental axiom. Another point to make to the mathematical community, you don't just assert axioms, you prove axioms. Everything that I'm putting on the screen is a theorem. I've already proven this analytical process, this overall logical structure. So from the original, right, in my paper, you can see I wrote axioms, and then it reduces all to speciality is special with an ITY, and that contains that entire linguistic logical progression. So axioms are not axioms until you prove them as theorems. An axiom has to be a theorem. But, right, and so people will just say in math class, here's an axiom, here are the axioms of ZFC theory, or whatever that is. It's like, those aren't axioms. Those are just not axioms. So this is the only proof, like genuinely. Speciality, especially with an ITY, is, like, again, it has to be consistent in the overall ontology, or it's not complete, and it's not completely correct. It's just true. But people always say the word axioms completely wrong effectively all of the time, because you guys haven't proven anything. So nothing is an axiom besides speciality is special with an ITY. And that just directly has conceptualization. But if you don't have that linguistic reduction, it's not proven. And so they're more of like lemmas that are just like incomplete. But yeah. And so, where were we? Is fluency productive? Is fluency a product? Sensorality is a product of its environment. Environment is circumstantial. I feel like I had another tangent that I just kind of, if I catch something in the editing, I'll just put it on the screen as usual. Sensorality is circumstantiality. What is consequentiality to circumstantiality? Sensorality is stantiality. Natural definition, direct iteration. So that was, I was commenting on the overall, again, the labeling, that's my emphasis, but natural definitions are properties. It's this use of is. It is what it is a connecting, again, it's the form of language. It's this form of resolution is what we've called it previously. But the direct iteration part is we're saying sensorality has clear syllability usage. It's the word sensor and the word ality. And now we're exhausting all of the implications it has linguistically and logically in the overall structure of ontology. But we're asserting, again, the only part that's like conjectured or lemmaed in this whole thing is sensorality itself. And now we're going to, again, show the absorption of that syllability, the letters, by containment in something that's already undeniably well defined, which gives us our definition of sensorality, which we can say confidently because, again, we've already done this whole analytical process. And once you derive and complete an axiom, you're just doing the same process again with new syllability. But the reason I've proven speciality before, so all of this stuff is already, the structure of what's going on is already proven, is valid. You guys just say, we have an axiom, and it's like, that's not an axiom, that's not a theorem. And you guys just say, oh, there's a proof, and you're just like, and then go look at the presentation of mathematics and why every single title looks just like word salad nonsense is because it is. That is the evidence of not having proper conceptualization, is the linguistics looks like, again, some sort of code you have to decrypt to understand the different word salads. And then people, again, have this jerking off to word salad where they hear some word like I was just scrolling a math Reddit, and it was like sophicality. And it's like, oh, that was very sophic. It's like, what is this word? So this production, this proliferation of just nonsense linguistics is the evidence. You guys have no idea what you're talking about. That's the entire structure of math and physics. Sorry, you lose. And so the natural definitions are statements of is, which are properties. We'll get to that here in a second. This whole process is direct iteration, but what we are directly iterating is the syllability, the sound associated to meaning of sensorality. We haven't finalized the meaning of sensorality, but the syllability, the letters representing it, are going to get absorbed in a containment statement of something people say already every day. And it just gives us a unique definition of what a sensor is. And so a lot of the labeling, again, is just still, if you're watching these whole, we're on part 500, I'm still like, I can feel you guys don't get what the labeling is. But it's really a restatement of like, hey, totality, where are we at in all of the implications of integrating sensorality into ontology? It's this statement right here, right? Sensorality is stantiality. And there was no way for you guys to keep up with how the consistency of the linguistics, because it's just truly an anomaly. I mean, it's the whole structure of ontology. Moving along. What is an exponent to an experiment? Sensorality is experimentality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Prototypes are experimental. Are prototypes agentic? What is agency to complacency? Complacency is easy. Is fluency easy? Direct iteration. Sensorality is compartmentality. Sensorality is the compartment department. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is a department store. What is a department to an organization? What is a store to a compartment? What is a compartment to a complement? Are complements pliable? Are particles pliable? Are particles frequencies? A particle is bounded mass, direct iteration. What is a particle to a position? Sensorality is particle position, natural definition, direct iteration. So again, to this direct not analogy of linguistics and physics, fermions can't stack on one another, particles are in definite places. The big thing you don't understand is the electron has internal dynamic. But things are located places. I can't take this up, occupy the same, just to use, I can't occupy the same space as my notebook. I'm not quantum tunneling. This thing is here. But in the same way you can't stack fermions on fermions, mass occupies space, you can't, linguistics gets used up, right? Once linguistics gets associated to meaning in the context of an overall ontological development of a species, you run out of simple letters to simple conceptualizations. The conceptualizations, the functionality, that is what's progressing and evolving. Every day things changes. Now we have agenticality. But that's what changes, right? Our linguistic logical basis, this refinement of all of symbolism, right? All of the alphabet structures, the Roman alphabet, the Cyrillic alphabet, the Greek alphabet, the Arabic alphabet, so on and so forth, is all of this fundamental inversion around the sound, the base E and its inverse A. And so, but the logic gets used up. Like you can't have the same exact context, the same exact letter structure to represent two different things, right? That's the same exact analog and logic to what is a function, right? It has to be consistent. And so this is how we get the logical out of bounds, is saying, we literally say, here's what all of these words use in all of these contexts, and it forces something to be unique. So functions are consistent and unique. Moving along. Sensorality is the sight of a particle. Natural definition, direct iteration. Is bias average? Is basic average? Bias is basic. All right. If functions are unique and consistent, right, it doesn't make sense to say functions. In the same way we've pointed out, and explicitly, again, at this point, identities, there's just one identity. And then logically people say, we have identities over here, we have identities over here. Those are properties. Again, we'll still get to that directly here in a second. But does it make sense to say, is there more than one function, right? Is there just one universal function? And then not die, reproduce, and think, but tend to optimal efficiency, right? All systems tend to optimal efficiency. but the actual axiom is speciality is special with an ITY. That linguistic progression contains all of the logic, produced by that derivation. Moving along. And so, where are we at? Particles bound. Sensorality is the sight of a particle. Natural definition, direct iteration, or bias is basic. Sensorality is the basis of bias. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is bias? To default, right? Psychologically, if people don't know what they're talking about, they just default to bias. They default to narrative. Is narrative biased? Fundamental theorem, fault is liability. Sensorality is faultability. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is contrived. Sensorality is contrivality. Sensorality is contravation. Sensorality is conservation. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is feasibility. Natural definition, direct iteration. Feasibility is possibility. Sensorality is the feasibility of fear. Natural definition, direct iteration. Is fear productive? Is fear easy? Direct iteration. Shit hits the fan, some people start screaming. Does that help anybody? No. Stay calm. All right. What is fear to hesitation? Sensorality plays it by ear. Fear, ear. Direct iteration. Sensorality drowns out the noise by playing it by ear. Direct iteration, again, consensus, cliche phrasing. What is noise to hearing? Is noise boring? Are angles algorithmic? A tangle is a complication. Sensorality is a complicated connection. Sensorality placates complication. Direct iteration. Is placation playful? Is vacation placating? What is placation to excavation? Sensorality is a staycation, right? Slang, direct iteration. Everyone knows what a staycation is. I want to go on vacation and I want to stay. Oh my goodness, staycation, slay queen. Right? We're just emphasizing this how words work all of the time for everybody. Sensorality staycates, direct iteration. What is sensonality to sensodorality? Are two big linguistic containments of sensorality. Directly, now we have this geometric containment, sensonality, literally the RN, our RN property. Well, in my case, identity, I identify as an RN. And so we take the R, we complete the R to an N, and then we get sensorality as sensonality. And then we also have sensodorality, this odor conceptualization, also a linguistic element that has contained sensorality completely and minimalistically. Sensorality is personable. Natural definition, direct iteration. If I remember correctly, again, that's like the final geometric proof by geometric consequence, is we have some sort of iteration of sensorality, the C and the S, and then it's the R or the N to the R, and we just take off that line and it gives us our definition, I think. But we'll just keep progressing. Hopefully we're there soon. But sensorality is personable. Natural definition, direct iteration. So throughout this derivation, we've hit a lot of word forms where it has that S-O-N. It's always been the same word form, but we have to get there and have these motivations to assert why. Because really this entire derivation process is, if we derive it, it's a derivation to a level of a proof. Because it's consistent with this whole structure that we've been doing. And so you truly go from, as a society, we have no idea what mathematics is, to here's the highest level, and then you guys are like, what do I do? It's like, you can't. You do the same shit you guys have always been doing. Nothing. How many vertices does a cube have if it's rotated? Go play in the sandbox. Terrence, did you like my little, I'm not that good at editing, but I thought that was a little fun, edit on the last video. But sensorality is personable, right? Charisma is personable, emphasizing this linguistic form, sonable, or S-O-N-able, has always been a form of sensorality through this identity and containment, RN. Our RN identity But again, we'll get to what Rn property, our Rn property. But sensorality is personable. Sensorality is personability, the ability to be a person. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is personality to personability? Sensorality personifies. Sensorality is personificationality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is personifiality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Again, the direct iteration part should be explicitly clear. We're putting sensorality syllables directly into ontology. But there's other times where I'll say natural definition, direct iteration to words that are well defined, but just aren't used frequently together. And it's the same level of assertion saying, hey, this is naturally defined as this. This is a property to this. This is related to this. Again, at this level of derivation where it's a proof, where it's a clearly, we go through a lot of steps and it's like we have to revisit some. Sometimes we repeat some, but it's this overall process where these are fundamental relationships, all of them. What is filtration to personification? Again, emphasizing this F algorithm, EFG, FG. Filtration, our operative word to sensorality, conjectured and still confident this whole time, is some sort of connection. We need 3 words to define it. We need our proper syllability. But personification, filtration, emphasize on the F. Personification, sonic. Sensorality is sonicality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is a sonic boom. Is sound sonic? Is audio sonic? Sensorality is an audio studio. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is dynamicality to systematicality? Sensorality is a dynamic system. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality identifies property, direct iteration. Sensorality identifies self, direct iteration. Sensorality is a step of self-identification. Natural definition, direct iteration. Right? Clear linguistic use, right? Self-identify or selfish, selfless. Still this huge fundamental dichotomy from even the first 50 of the from rhythm to algorithm years ago. But right, a lot of times the word self will come with a hyphen. And then in other languages, French, you have mem, mio in Spanish, but just these clear linguistic elements of self-identification in language where it's just like this chronology, chirality relationship's just out of whack. And that's why those things exist. But overall, again, an exponent is identity. It's self-operation. And so that is what I want, the exact words I wanted to put into the episode of yesterday. Again, not just, we had originally an exponent is an identity, and then naturally, even in my talking, and then put on the screen, sensorality is identity. There's only one identity, and that's what we're saying is one is universal. And then physically, there's been a unique progress throughout history of universal physical things. And so that information is contained within our logical structure. But again, just this self-identification of the actual linguistic structures, and then, just moving along. But is identifies. Is a verb. Property is real estate. What is property to priority? Are frequencies priorities? So now property to priority, now again we have back to this fundamental, what is the right spelling of right? R-I-T-E, R-I-G-H-T. L-I-T-E, L-I-G-H-T. Right? Priorities is like this fundamental conceptual word that contains that dichotomy that we brought up hasn't really resolved. What do we do with that? Same thing with series and sequence. And we see a number file video and he says it's the addition. A series is the addition of a sequence, but it's like an operation in general. Doesn't matter. It's just, again, acknowledging things that have come up in this derivation that just feel unresolved. Priorities contains the syllability of R-I-T-E-S pretty uniquely. Sensorality is the right frequency. right? Ordinality is prioritized. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is derivation to proliferation? Again, is derivation more or less things? Proliferation is more, but fundamentally, physically, you can't have more mass, right? More localization. Sensorality proliferates fluency, direct iteration. Identity defines. Are elements properties? What is property to elementality? Again, back to the direct periodic table of elements, right? We have affinity up and to the right of again, the property, the structure of the periodic table. Logically, what is elementality to property? Again, emphasizing the fundamental ontological relevance of the word element. That is the right collection of units, right? Multiple units. An electron is a unit, an atom is an element. Sensorality laments elements, direct iteration. Are names properties? Sensorality prioritizes property, direct iteration. Properties are specialties, direct iteration. Property, specialty. So again, emphasizing that step, it always feels like the specialty of all of these different forms of speciality, this LTY, and then we had a natural pluralization or extension, specialty to specialties. Properties are specialties. Just felt useful, meaningful to emphasize that step linguistically, specifically the LTY to LTIES. What is equality to property? Or what is an equation in math class? What is a property? Is equality a property? Is identifies, property equates. So here, logically, the mathematical difference we're asserting, or again, it's proven. Like I'm saying, it's hard for me to even in the last episode, with the continuation, right? We said the fundamental theorem of mathematics, and then we said we continued it as a continuating thought. These aren't thoughts, these are theorems. And it's just this refinement process of being more specific. This overall structure is already proven. You've never seen this level of mathematics before, ever. There's no historical analog. And you guys are so stupid you'll instinctually steal everything I've ever done, as you've already done. I've already done all of this process up until, again, words have meaning when I was like 7 years old. And everyone just instinctually you saw what my life has been. But specifically, logically, an equation is a statement of property, right? PV equals nRT. The N, the number of moles, and the R, it's not a direct statement of is. Again, equality is not is not equality. There's just different functional and logical applications of these words. But sensorality equates property, direct iteration. Equity equates. So now we get another one of these fundamental perversions of logic, right? People say, I want equity, and they mean equality. And it's again another one of these chronologies of just like potential energy. Nope, energy is movement potential. You have this direct chronology wrong. Equity is a stake in a company. Equality is what you want when you say we want equity. But a logical direct iteration, equity equates. Earthquake equate. What is exponentiation to equation? So now we have this fundamental linguistic difference. Exponentiation, equation. Equation, exponentiation. I don't count the syllables anymore. All of the numerics is always more syllability to less syllability is always going on. But emphasizing the word forms. What is an exponent, right? The whole logical presentation, what is exponentiation, right? It's self-operation. 4 to the third power, 4 times 4 times 4. But whatever the exponent is, the base is still the base. The base is invariant. The base doesn't change. It's some sort of operation of self, right? Exponentiation is identification. But then when we have an equation sign, right, our big result that we talked about at the beginning, an exponent is not an equation. But again, where's the equation? Right, there isn't one. Go look at any form of an exponent. Super simple. Right, there's no equation sign. That's the result, right? And that's the logical derivation of the form of exponentiation. actually. So that's a huge proof, and that's purely logical to the form of mathematics, proven by no exponents have equation signs in them, right? It's a self operation. It's identification. It's one thing. It's identity. And again, emphasizing logically, it is what it is. All of the its are related in this linguistic structure, but everything is independent. Everything is infinitely unique. Everything is special. What is exponentiation to inversion? So again, when we have this unique chronology of universal progress, right, and then we have one thing and it inverts, is that inversion exponential? Did the universe exponentiate in the past? It's not exponentially expanding right now, not happening. We're like a big lava lamp blob just kind of blobbing around. That's for sure what's occurring. But all of this logic in this containment and in this discussion and this awareness and this sentiment of exponential growth was in the past. And so that is a huge, again, the biggest mathematical result to date, when again, every video is the biggest results. It's like, again, I will use an analogy, then I won't use an analogy, right? If you're the leading scorer in the NBA and each time you score a basket, it's like a new points, more points. But these are like new, we've already established the whole analytical process. That's maximum value. But these are all unique proofing steps, right? This is not just like scoring another bucket. This is like playing a whole nother game. And this is like a whole nother NBA championship. And it's like a whole nother, just way bigger. But this establishes, again, equality versus exponentiation. An exponent is not an equation. And that's just evident by the form of exponents right now. But that's the logical proof as to why. It's a statement of self-operation, not relating to something else. And then it is what it is, and we have all of these independent things connected, but not touching. So that is a huge, biggest result in mathematics. My rights continue to be violated. The value is clear and present. The egregious, heinous crimes being committed against me are clear and present. There is no values. There are no morals. That is what I have right now. Please let me leave this wonderful state and country where I cannot speak freely about the profound crimes that continue to be committed against me. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.